people who say that apparently their DNA is full of acting. So why not sometime try your hand in direction also?
And that was my first question to her when I met her. That is it going to be a propaganda film?
Yeah.
Considering, yes, she believes in a particular ideology. Okay. So then that is the first thought that comes to your mind. But she said, read the script. And if you feel it is, don't be a part of it.
Yeah.
There is an important story to be told, important outcome of whether it is constitutional learnings that we should have or learn from our history, or also understanding of great leadership that went completely wrong.
And then of course you surrender yourself to the director, you depend on your director, and you go with the director's conviction, because it's an entire story that the director is telling. It is not only about him.
Honestly, I am really disappointed in the directors around us. They are just, we don't have directors. If we had good directors, I didn't have to do it.
Personality politics versus people's power, coalition grouping versus single party authoritarian dictatorship versus electoral democracy, और ना जाने क्या क्या चीज़ें कही जा सकती है. लेकिन डायरेक्टर एक्टर कंगना रनौत की अपकमिंग फिल्म इमरजेंसी है उस दौर के बारे में जहाँ एक तरफ थी इंदिरा गांधी और दूसरी तरफ परहैप्स बाकी सब लोग. Hi everyone, this is Kunal Kothari. You're watching me on IWMBuzz, and with me sitting is the wonderful team of Emergency themselves, Shreyas Talpade, and the women, the lady herself, Kangana Ranaut. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. So right away, Kangana, I have to ask you that when you deal with something, and especially इस तरह का जो trailer 2 आया है, it is so intriguing जब वो 5 second का footage आता है where the untold history of Indira changes to the told story of the untold story of India to told story of India. So my question to you is that does it stay true to the public knowledge, emergency ka pura treatment, or is it more like you have to ruffle some feathers just to make something come across?
नहीं ऐसा तो इतनी ज़्यादा huge investment of time, emotional resources. It is not just to ruffle some feather that I can do if I just do some simple 2-line post. Enough feathers will be ruffled for another month, right. And I will have multiple cases filed on me, and so उसके लिए इतनी मुशक्क़त करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Of course, there is an important story to be told, important outcome of whether it is constitutional learnings that we should have or learn from our history, or also understanding of great leadership that went completely wrong, that we will have. So in so many aspects, this is one of the most important films. So that's why it's made.
True. Shreyas, coming to you, it's also very fascinating, because Atal Bihari Vajpayee is obviously one of the most adored and respected leaders of Indian political history, right? But what I find very intriguing and I want to know from you in the process is that we know the glory years, and because that came much later. Because जब हम जिस दौरान की बात कर रहे हैं, he was probably a rising political person himself, right? So as an actor, when you know that what he did later, we know it and you know it. So to disassociate from that and portray something of his more vulnerable and more early years, how difficult and challenging does that turn out to be, and how do you treat when you do something like that?
To portray someone like Atalji
Yes.
in itself is a challenge. So whether you do it in the later years or the early years, it is equally challenging. Especially someone like him, like you said, he's adored and respected the world over. But I guess what you try to do is portray it to the best of your ability and with utmost honesty. You don't try to make it caricaturish. That's the first rule. You just play it with whatever sensibility you might be having.
Right.
And then of course you surrender yourself to the director, you depend on your director, and you go with the director's conviction, because it's an entire story that the director is telling. It is not only about him. So there are so many other characters and you're a part of it. But whatever part you're playing, you just have to make sure that you justify it to the best of your ability. And I think then you leave the rest to the audience to decide, because that is all that is there in our hands. After that, it's theirs, So 17 January, we'll know what they really have to say about it. Till that time, there will be butterflies in my stomach.
Of course. And Kangana, coming back to you, इतने सारे tags लगते हैं, when you are in the public eye. With you, there are some amazing tags as well, and I love when terminologies come to play, because warrior, fighter, one woman army, and फिर कुछ और भी tags लगते हैं. how much do you, I'm not said sure like thinking about it, but how much does that affect you in a positive way? And do you agree with a lot of them, or you just don't really care about it after a point of time?
No, see, nobody knows. Nobody in entirety knows my story and my struggle. They may have some glimpses here and there. कुछ उसमें से खुद देखा होता है, कुछ सुना सुनाया होता है, so on and so forth. But what goes on in your mind, who you really are, वो तो शायद आपकी फैमिली भी नहीं जानती है ना. आपको उनको भी समझाना ही पड़ता है कि आप क्या सोच रहे हैं या क्या चाह रहे हैं. तो ऐसा नहीं होता. एक इंसान जस्ट वो एक वर्ड में आप एक इंसान को कैद नहीं कर सकते. एक इंसान के बहुत फैसेट्स होते हैं.
True. And again, coming to you, Shreyas, you know, अब बार ये कहा जाता है, especially after you know what happened to you, that you know एक rebirth था आपके लिए in the best way possible. But I think in several aspects, even your Hindi you know belt career has also taken such a surge and in the best way possible. Yet again, do you believe that has been the case in the you know more recent history, or do you believe, as you mentioned, you're a destiny person and यार जब होना है तब वो होना ही होता है?
I am a destiny person, you know, especially after whatever happened, there are no two ways about it. So, and I guess whatever has to happen happens at that point in time. So I have, to be very honest, stopped overthinking. I have stopped planning. I just go with the flow, one day at a time.
Right.
And, you know, God has been kind. Like you said, yes, last year itself, there were like 5 odd releases,
Exactly.
including the likes of Pushpa 2 and Mufasa and Kartam Buktam and things like that. So, and again, nothing was planned per se. This year it begins with a film like Emergency. Then there are, of course, the housefuls and the welcomes of the world and Bagis also. So I'm looking forward to all of that. I'm very happy right now in the space that I am, the kind of work that I am doing. And like I said, God has been extremely kind.
Yeah, and another additional question to you itself for Kangana, in context to Kangana, is that whatever you know reason was the delay, you know the film was delayed, didn't get censor certificate and all that, but the process, you know, of waiting for the new release date or you know to get that clearance is probably the most tiresome and very infuriating, I'm sure, right? Because आपको नहीं पता कि release होगी तो कब होगी and everything. So what I want to know from you in her context is that ऐसे दौर में कितनी पेशेंस लगी होगी उनको, एंड हाउ वाज द अप्रोच बिटवीन यू गाइज, यू नो, बिकॉज आई एम श्योर यू वुड हैव कन्वर्सेशंस अबाउट इट.
एक्चुअली हम तो इमेजिन भी नहीं कर सकते कि व्हाट शी मस्ट हैव गॉन थ्रू एज अ प्रोड्यूसर डायरेक्टर हरसेल्फ, यू नो, बिकॉज टेक्निकली एज एन एक्टर आप जाते हो, आपका काम करते हो, ऑफ कोर्स यू वेट फॉर द फिल्म बिकॉज एवरी फ्राइडे इज अ न्यू फ्राइडे फॉर अस. तो जब फिल्म रिलीज होनी होती है तो यू आर वेटिंग कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, जनता कैसे रिएक्ट करेगी, इसके बाद मेरा और क्या होगा करियर में, हाउ विल दे इवेंचुअली स्टार्ट परसीविंग मी वगैरह वगैरह. बट एज अ प्रोड्यूसर एंड डायरेक्टर व्हेन समथिंग लाइक दिस हैपेंस, मे बी यू नो अ वीक बिफोर और a couple of days before your release, I think that is devastating.
Yes.
Matlab, if I would have been in her place, I don't know what I would have done, you know. And it's a huge, apart from the fact that it's a huge financial loss, your film being stalled, not released, and then you don't know what is going to happen next, I think is quite a devastating thing for any creative person who has done her job with utmost honesty and sincerity. When you see the film, you'll realize what I'm trying to say. Because, and that was my first question to her when I met her, you know, that is it going to be a propaganda film, you know?
Yeah.
Considering, yes, she you know, believes in a particular ideology, okay? So then that is the first thought that comes to your mind. But she said, read the script, and if you feel it is, don't be a part of it. You know, but when I read the script, I said, "But it is as neutral as it can be, and it is a chapter which is told with honesty." So when all of this happens, and then it is stalled or whatever, you know, postponed or not released, then that is the most saddest thing ever that can happen to anyone.
True, and fighting through it, finally getting a release, I'm sure. And finally, to round things up, Kangana, you know, on similar lines, आपके लिए सवाल. But I'm very intrigued by, you know, how you took things, you know, matters in your hand after a certain point in your career, being on screen, going off screen, taking the creative liberties, producing, directing, even writing for that matter in your recent past. I'm sure that gives you a lot of creative liberty, of course, because that's what you die for as a creative person. But because it puts so much financial pressure, you know, because आप दूसरी aspects में भी involve हो जाते हो, Does the creative liberty, take a backseat जब आप इतने सारे financial pressure के साथ struggle कर रहे होते हो? And do you believe that no, I should have probably, not done this, and I should have just focused on something, what I primarily want to do?
नहीं ऐसा कभी नहीं होता, because honestly I am really disappointed in the directors around us. They are just, we don't have directors. If we had good directors, I didn't have to do it. Today, this is not to disrespect anyone, but in all my honesty, if you think that there's a dream director I want to work with, nobody alive. Nobody is around. This is my case for past 5 years. And especially those who are making big films, the way they treat their women characters, it is atrocious to another level. So there is not a single director who exists today in film industry who I want to work with. Not a single director. Yes, I have hit gold with some new directors, whether it is Queen, Tanu Manu, or all the films, well, in my initial years also, whether I did gangster or fashion, all these, they were relatively new directors. I've never had like a Khan film or a Yash Raj or that kind of a launch, I've been very disappointed with directors, writers, and I was like, this is it, enough is enough. I will do something and I will do it on my own. And it's been very gratifying, very satisfying, and I also want to encourage many more people to start directing, because we don't have good directors, we don't have enough directors, and especially film industry people who say that apparently their DNA is full of acting. So why not sometime try your hand in direction also, because they all want to just pamper their vanities and just, so sometimes they should also be like, Shreyas sir directs, Anupamji directs, like I see that he is also a great voice artist.
Right.
Anupamji is also a coach. So I see when people come from outside, they're a lot more dynamic. But other than that, this is not to throw shade on anyone, but honestly, there's not a single director who I want to work with. So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, absolutely, and taking matters in your own hands, giving a fantastic.
And you would
film.
agree. You can name a director that I want to work with, and I challenge you.
Right.
That throw a name. That no, but what about him? Like what about Guru Dutt, or what about Bimal Roy?
True.
Or what? But really, you don't want to work with Mehboob Khan. Like you can't name a single director and say, but what about him?
Correct.
So still, for male guys, maybe there is a bigger opportunity. But even these South films, look at their female protagonists. So, do I want to be in their place? Maybe it made 1,000 crore, but do I want to be in that film? No,
Absolutely
sorry.
not, yeah.
Absolutely not. So what do you do then? Tell me,
As you mentioned, take matters into your own hands and give a film like this.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kangana and Shreyas. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I really, really wish you all the best for the film and everything you've lined up ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.